What's up? Alright, see you, Loza. Alright, I'm just gonna get started. Sorry, I'm running a little bit late today because I was debating CRT with the wife. Really, I was. It's not even a joke. I wish it was a joke, but it wasn't a joke because she just doesn't understand it. Because she can't find enough material. Let me move all this stuff. I've been working all day. It's hot as hell here in Florida. So I'm glistening a little bit now. Watch by the end of the show. Just a quick thing for YouTube. On the Wake Up America podcast YouTube, we're trying something today as subscriber only. So you don't need to be a member. You just need to be a subscriber. Please just act like adults in the chat, all right? I shouldn't have to say more. We were demonetized. We can't get Facebook stars. I'm hoping that by having this on subscriber only instead of just members, you guys know what to do and contribute to the show the best that you can, even though it is through big tech. But whatever. For anyone just tuning in for the first time, my name is Steve. The show is called Wake Up America. Today is going to be an interesting show because we've got a ton to try to get over. Because I did start a little bit late, the show is likely going to run a little past 9. Adam and Scott should be on shortly after that, or right around the time I end. Also, if you don't have a PTNN membership, or you do have a PTNN membership, there is going to be a portion of this video that is only going to be on PTNN after this. And I may keep it on Twitch and DLive if I could figure out how to do it. Otherwise, it's only going to be on PTNN. It's a video I shared out to Twitter. Obviously, if you watch the video, it's all about COVID. We're not allowed to show that kind of stuff on YouTube or Facebook, or they'll delete our accounts. So I'm just going to show it on the platforms that I own and control. Therefore, no one can do anything to me. But it's a video. It's 16 minutes long, and it's a video that completely describes this vaccination and everything about it. So that's it. It seems like, so one of my viewers is the one who is doing this this phone spoofing stuff. One of you guys that's watching the show is getting your rocks off by doing that. I'd appreciate it if you stop calling me with local police numbers and that kind of stuff. It's stupid. It's childish. I'd rather you not do it because eventually they're going to end up, getting tired of these reports that I have to make every single time you guys do it. Because I need to be prepared in case someone does show up at my house and I have to end them. So yeah, they'll eventually find out who you are. So I'd just appreciate it if you'd stop. I mean, because you obviously watch the whole show, and that's why you do it throughout the whole show. Just grow the hell up, please, and stop doing it. That's why my phone always rings during the show. I could turn it off, but again, I run a business, so I can't do that. And if I need to answer it, I will. But whoever's doing the spoofed calls, please stop. I mean, just grow the hell up. Anyway, let's jump right into our first news story. We've got a bunch that we wrote too. And obviously some of the bigger ones are some of the stories that you've already heard. I guess I'm going to start off first with the rise of the Moors militia group that was arrested on the highway. There was a standoff, and a lot of you guys asked why didn't we report on it, because there's nothing really to report. If you're unfamiliar, sovereign citizens get pulled over all the time. All the time. And yes, sometimes there's standoffs. The only reason why everyone's trying to get it, why this is such a big deal to everyone is because they happen to be black dudes. They were Moors, so they were sovereign citizen Moorish. For anyone that doesn't understand, I had to look it up too. These people think they're descendants from Morocco and that America is Moroccan land and therefore it's theirs. They don't believe in the government. They're the people that you see that sometimes they're breaking into empty houses and declaring it their property under Moorish law or some crap like that. They're batshit crazy. Okay, and I think it was Saturday morning in Massachusetts along 95 at 1:30 in the morning, Saturday or Sunday, I don't remember. But a Massachusetts state police officer attempted to pull over, or I think they were already stopped. He attempted to stop and find out what was going on because there were several vehicles stopped on the side of the highway. He saw that there was a dozen people armed with, with long guns and handguns and bulletproof vests and wearing tactical gear. And as soon as he, gave them orders, they all took off into the woods and a little standoff ensued. After a little while, 2 people were arrested. One of the guys, and I forgot what his page was, The Rise of the Moors, I think on YouTube. He was posting videos the whole time talking about anti-government stuff and that he doesn't answer to law enforcement and that they're not, or they were not anti-government, they're just not this government and all sorts of weird stuff. They're not anti-law enforcement. He kept saying all this stuff, yet they were having a standoff with police. After a short time, the standoff ended. These guys were apparently from Rhode Island, and they were driving to Maine to do some training on a remote campsite, whatever. It seems like just any other white militia group. You know, the only reason why everyone's making a big deal of it is because they're black dudes, which is it's stupid. You know what I mean? Because we don't do the same with the white militia groups in Michigan that are out doing drills on the weekend, right? Because we believe in the Second Amendment. There's no difference between what they were doing, because they were all, well, they weren't legally carrying weapons in Massachusetts because you can't do it. They didn't have permits to do it. So they were committing crimes, and they didn't have driver's licenses, again, because they were sovereign citizens. Outside of that, there's no difference in what they were doing versus, you know, a militia group that's training in Texas, or a militia group that's training in Minneapolis, or Minneapolis. Yeah, there's a big difference between the militia groups in Minneapolis. Those guys are all radical terrorists. Anyway, well, it depends which ones. You know which ones I'm talking about. The ones that wear the Hawaiian shirts and shoot up, you know, Precinct 3 and threaten to kill cops. Those ones. Those are the ones that are radical terrorists. But yeah, a lot of people, you know, a lot of people are like, hey, how come you're not covering this? This is like a huge story. You know, black militia people. I'm like, why is black militia people a huge story when white militia people aren't? You understand? It's like, it's a double standard, and everyone has to kind of remember that. You know, I think a lot of times everyone's looking for the worst thing. And part of what I'm going to talk about tonight is a lot of that. It's a lot, and I'm going to make some eerie connections, and a lot of people are going to be like, what the hell, Steve? That's too far-fetched. Even my wife was like, you can't say that. That's too far gone. And I can, actually, because this is my show, and I have to, because I'm starting to see things going crazy. Someone said they are a black supremacist group. You never talk like this about a white supremacist group. You're condemning the white group. I didn't hear anything in all the videos. The only people, yeah, okay, so now you guys are, I see a comment here where someone said they're a black supremacist group. Who said they're a black supremacist group? The Southern Poverty Law Center? Okay, I believe them, right? They also said the Proud Boys are a white supremacist group, so they have no credibility. The ACLU also, they said the Proud Boys are a terrorist group. They have no credibility. So that's, again, when I make my determination, I saw people exercising their Second Amendment right, although I didn't agree with them politically based on what I could find out. I don't know. I'm not going to believe what the Southern Poverty Law Center, ACLU, you know, says it is. Are you guys going to do that? Because if that's what you're going to do, then you're kind of siding over on there on the left. Anyway. Hopefully that made sense, because those are the only people that are identifying them as black supremacists. You understand that? The only people that identified them as black supremacists are the Southern Poverty Law Center, who are the same people that said the Proud Boys are a white supremacist group, even though the person that leading them is an Afro guy, you know, Afro-Cuban is what he declares. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, it's kind of silly. Someone said they call themselves black supremacists. Unless you know one of those 12 guys that are arrested, I don't know about that either. I understand the whole Morris thing. Again, I don't agree with everyone politically, but they're not out here doing stupid shit all the time, you know, to the best of my knowledge. And even in my research to try to determine whether I wanted to write on it, you know, again, I write news based on facts. I don't write news based on fiction. And if the Southern Poverty Law Center says something's a terrorist group, more often than not, I'm viewing them not as a terrorist group, in that it's a political agenda. I'll be completely honest. That is the way I decipher news, and that's why we didn't write a story until today. The reason we wrote a story today is because 5 million people sent us emails saying, how come you're not covering this? And then we did have someone that said a court reporter covered the event, or covered what happened in court today when they were all arraigned, and it was a shit show. And so we're going to look at that, and we'll probably write a follow-up article, but I'm not going to jump on the whole bandwagon of black supremacists, this, that, because personally, I don't know. I don't care. I don't give opinion as fact. It's just not something I do. And if you're new here, then you're probably like, holy shit, this guy's honest. Well, yeah, that's what we try to be. So anyway, I think they're all still in jail. There was one minor, I believe, 17-year-old kid that was with him, but that's it. Again, until it's a bigger story. If it comes out tomorrow that they had plans to blow up shit, then I probably still wouldn't even believe it, because of one of the stories I'm going to tell you in a few minutes. Matter of fact, let's skip over to that one. We're going to have an article out on this tomorrow. Let me get all high tech here and switch this over, because you guys got to be able to see this. You may have seen some stuff today that came out of the news. This was one of them. Now, it hasn't really broken everywhere yet. This is a criminal complaint for another guy that's been charged with the Capitol. He's out. They released him right away, which is kind of crazy when you read the actual complaint. And again, we'll have a story, so I'm just going to brush over this really quick. But our story title is going to say something like, what did I say? To April, I said this should be a clickbait article, a clickbait title. We never do clickbait titles. This should be one. Undercover agents discovered at the Capitol on January 6th, because this complaint literally says there were undercover agents at the Capitol during the riot on January 6th that made contact with this fella here. And then because they didn't get him on anything at the Capitol, they kept trying to build him into a terrorist for months until June 18th, 19th. Literally, and if you look at the actual charges, because here are his charges: 18 USC 1752, 40 USC. So basically, all the same misdemeanor charges that everyone else has been charged with, unless they tack on a conspiracy or some shit later. Except John Sullivan, who has 6 felonies for breaking into the Capitol and 2 federal misdemeanors, yet he's still out on bail. The one person that literally deserves to be in bail or be in jail is out, but whatever. So this guy's name, and I'm probably going to butcher it, but his name was like Phi Dugan or something like that. Hold on, where's my mouse? I don't know why my mouse does it. Skips over to the other screen. This guy's name is Phi Dong. Okay, he's I guess he said he's Chinese and Vietnamese. Phi Dong, he lived in Northern Virginia. Anyway, so the FBI agent, Jason Jankovich, again, I don't know how they can do it. I don't know how an officer, anybody that works in law enforcement, could actually do what they do here. Because you're literally, it's just disgusting. Anyway, so here's one of the main things. On the morning of January 6th, Phi Dong, an associate of his, identified as Associate 1, introduced themselves to a Metropolitan Police Department undercover employee, also known as UCE, in the vicinity of Freedom Plaza in Washington, D.C. Dong asked the UCE if he or she was a patriot, to which they responded affirmative and asked if he was the same. He said he was an operator, I guess. And then it said later that afternoon that undercover observed Dong kneeling by a marble fence in the West Terrace of the U.S. Capitol building past a line of police officers during the construction scaffolding, which was in place on January 6th. They gave like head nods, but they didn't communicate any further. Then it goes into the same thing. All this information, which is incredibly frightening if you're worried about Big Brother, spying on you, because they have a master list of everyone that was at the Capitol. Not your names yet, but they have all your phone numbers. Everybody that was at the Capitol, they went to AT&T, Google, they went to everybody, and they got all of the information, all of the IP addresses and all of the phone numbers registered to those IP addresses for every single phone that was in that premises. So they were able to track within that phone to him, because they figured out what his phone number was because they had an undercover there. They were able to figure out his phone number, and then they were able to geolocate him within 100 feet of that Capitol building, so they could tell based on pinpoint data provided by Google. Again, big tech. They could provide exactly where he was, and he was in a 100-foot perimeter around the Capitol. See, he was in the Capitol. They can actually prove that based on the data, because it literally goes into here in specifics and said it's accurate. Less than 100 feet, which encompasses the area entirely within the U.S. Capitol building. This is where it gets interesting, though. And again, we're going to have an article, because I'm just going to glance over it really quick. On January 13th, now, newsflash, that's after January 6th. And this is after all the outrage and trying to go after everybody that was inside the Capitol, right? We already knew that. This is after. So on January 13th, the undercover introduced an FBI undercover employee to Dong. During this meeting, the undercovers learned that he belonged to a loosely affiliated, unnamed group of like-minded people that actually gathered to do Bible study. Oh yeah, such radical people. It goes on to say that numerous times, this guy, obviously, he was a conspiracy theorist. He believed the world was ending, and that everyone's rights are being infringed all the time, which it kind of is. But he was definitely out there a little bit. This undercover literally tried for months They met with him, multiple undercovers actually met with them, trying to get this guy to manufacture Molotov cocktails. And I couldn't believe they actually wrote this in the charging complaint. And this is why there aren't any charges for terrorism or anything, because this guy wasn't having it. He wasn't doing it. He literally, and in the Washington Post article that they wrote this afternoon, this guy actually actively fought against the undercover by always coming up with an excuse on why he's not going to make Molotov cocktails. So much so that the undercover, on one conversation that they actually list in this complaint, the undercover, I believe it was March, in one conversation asked 4 or 5 times, listed all in here, saying that he wanted to go test Molotov cocktails and could they do this now? Can they build these? What do they need? Trying to get the guy to say all the ingredients, trying to see if he has all the stuff there. Like, they literally were trying to entrap this guy to something much bigger. It's very sad. And yeah, everyone that's texting me, please don't. Especially, I mean, I tell you all the time, don't text me while I'm doing the show. But it's kind of funny because this guy he was very afraid of Antifa. Now you'll see here, and I think this is important to read, because the FBI gives their definition of Antifa. And this is kind of funny because it says Antifa, short for anti-fascist, does not describe a particular group, bullshit, but rather describes people who adhere to what they label as anti-fascist beliefs. The term Antifa is also, what is that noise? Hold on, I figured out what it is. It's really annoying. I don't even know how to turn it off. It's Discord. I don't even use Discord. No, it won't even let me right click it. Anyway, but it goes on. The term Antifa is also often associated with anarchist extremists, individuals who, in addition to holding so-called anti-fascist beliefs, are also opposed to capitalism in the current form of U.S. government and advocate violence. Anarchist extremists are often associated with violent criminal behavior that is carried out in service of anarchist extremist ideology. Anarchist extremists often seek out violence against the right-wing extremists at public places. So, as you could see there, that's a really loosely termed. They're like, Antifa isn't Antifa because it's anarchist extremists, which is kind of interesting because if you look at that terminology, they are saying Antifa is our anarchist extremists. And then if you look at the latest FBI bulletin that came out, now anarchist extremists are listed as a domestic terror group. Which is stupid because then they're saying Antifa is not a domestic terror group. Anyway, so they try forever to get this guy to blow something up, to build some Molotov cocktails, literally pages and pages of correspondence of them trying to get him to do it. And I'll put this whole thing, we'll embed this whole thing so people can read it. That's him with the stupid mask, and I remember seeing that mask when we were broadcasting what was going on at the Capitol Live. But you can see from January to April to May to June 17th, the FBI agents actually took this guy to a jail in Virginia, trying to plan for him to attack the jail. They literally tried so hard for months to get something other than misdemeanor charges against this guy. He didn't take the bait. They finally gave up. They arrested him. They charged him with the misdemeanor charges for protesting at the Capitol and everything. Again, things that they're not charging any of the Kavanaugh people, any of the protesters who are protesting against the Kavanaugh thing, which they did the same exact shit. They all went to the Capitol without permission. They all got arrested. 200 plus people got arrested with the Kavanaugh hearings, all feminists and all that stuff. Not a single one of them actually had to face charges. Go figure that one out. But everyone on January 6th is getting railroaded and arrested and held with. This guy was released without having to put up bail. Other people are released without having to put up bail. But then you have other people like the guy with the horns. That guy's been held for 6 months now. They're not giving him bail. They say he's a flight risk. They say he has the means and crazy ways of making money. They've charged him with conspiracy and all this other shit too. They don't even have a trial date. The judge today just remanded him in jail until trial without any trial date. He's got all sorts of medical issues from being a weirdo. And yet he's locked up. And there's so many other people that are locked up. They have 2 units inside the DC jails right now that are full of these supposed insurrectionists, many of which are only being held on misdemeanors that are not given any bail, or people that are charged with this conspiracy charge, which again, if you actually look at the history of the FBI, here's the thing that I think about, all right? You have the FBI agents that are going out and storming these houses and doing all this stuff and sitting on this guy, and all these FBI agents that were working on trying to entrap this moron, this guy. And I don't know him, and I'm just going to say what's fresh on my mind right now. The guy's not the brightest guy if he's talking about blowing up shit. Not the smartest dude in the world. But yet they're trying like hell. Multiple FBI agents are listed, multiple undercovers, multiple assets. They're trying to do this. You know how many people died? Do you know how many people died in the past 3 days? Over 200 people by gun violence. We have a major issue in this city or in this country. But yet our biggest law enforcement agency is tasked with going after the January 6th riots. How come they're not going out with the same ferocity or same gumption as for all the riots and everything that took place all of last year? They just, it's stupid. That's like the one thing I can't figure out, except it's an attack. And it's going to make a lot of this stuff. And I say that this is the insurrection. What's going on now is the insurrection. What happened on January 6th wasn't. And I'll be honest. And that's the way I personally feel. Remember I said the breaching point, that breaking point? I heard it. There was the guy Aaron Lewis from Staind. He wrote a song. The song resonated with me. It's everything I think. What the fuck is happening to our country? What is going on? When you actually think, and screw it, I'm throwing out the way I was going to do the show today, because you have the press secretary at 12:30 today that says people are going to start knocking on your doors, asking if you're vaccinated. I had someone that called me the other day, called my cell phone, knew my number, read my number back to me, and then said, oh, we're doing a survey. And I'm like, okay, I'll do the survey. That's fine. What's your survey about? And they're like, well, we're calling on behalf of the CDC. And I said, oh, this should be interesting. What are you calling about? And then they're like, oh, well, it's about the vaccination studies and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, all right, sure. And they're like, do you have any children that are between the ages of 4 and 18? And I'm like, I do. And they're like, okay, with the youngest one, what's their date of birth? I'm like, the fuck I'm giving you? I'm not telling you that information. I don't know who you are. And then they're like, well, we can't proceed with the thing. And I said, well, again, tell me what company you're with. Tell me what this name of this survey is. And what they were doing is they're tracking down people that are not vaccinated. That's what they are doing. That's the sole purpose of that lady doing it. So I can only assume that maybe I got lucky because I'm changing the address, but based on what Jen Psaki, the White House press secretary, and then Joe Biden said after, here, you know what? Let's just listen to Biden. Let's listen. I know it's hard because he sucks, but.
Now we need to go to community by community, neighborhood by neighborhood, and oftentimes door to door, literally knocking on doors to get help to the remaining people protected from the virus.
This is so dumb. This is so dumb. So now they're going to go door to door, knocking on your door to say, hey, are you vaccinated? Why aren't you getting vaccinated? Here's all the information that we are manufacturing that has no medical, no knowledge. It's not real, okay? Because here's some facts, and you'll see it if you watch the video. You know what the death rate, based on the government data, is the death rate of COVID-19 right now for anyone that's over 84, which is, it's got the highest mortality rate, over 84, 0.04%. There's a survival rate of 99.6, 99.678, blah, 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 blah. You'll be able to see that at the video. If you're watching on PTNN right now, you'll be able to watch that. It talks about everything. Our country is such a fallacy. Now they say they're going to go knock on doors. They're going to go knock on doors. That's what they're going to do. You know who also knocked on doors to push them with vaccination cards and all that stuff? Do you know who did it? I said that to my wife, right? 1933, before all the crazy shit started happening, when people started knocking on doors and started requiring people to carry identification cards, requiring, going and passing out all this propaganda. This shit is scary, okay? No matter which way you look at it, my wife's like, you can't do that. There's nothing similar. I don't see anything similar. We're pushing, or anything dissimilar. We're pushing all this radical ideology. We're pushing socialism through the roof. We're tearing down and breaking down our history point by point. That's what they want to do. That's what the whole push on the 1619 Project is. It's not about teaching actual history. It's about making up the history. It's about saying, hey, you left this out, so that what you actually think happened in history didn't happen at all. This is what actually happened. 1619 was the year the country was founded, because that's when we fraudulently said the first slaves were brought to America, except that was not the first time slaves were brought to America. The Spaniards brought slaves to America about 45 years before that. Like, it's so dumb what's going on in the country. And our teachers' unions are so much better, right? Because they're pushing this whole CRT stuff. They're pushing this nonstop, through and through. Everyone hears about it. But the thing is, unless you actually pay attention to what it is, and unless you actually read the propaganda that's being put out, not what CNN says CRT is, not what MSNBC, if you actually read the propaganda, and I'm going to call it that because that's what it is. If you read the propaganda that they're putting out, it's just that. It's propaganda. It's teaching people that one of the best videos you could find is there's a parent that's talking about how he's a black parent. He's got black or mixed children. And he's like, how am I going to possibly tell my three, black children that their father, who's also a black person, is oppressed by their mother, who is white? He's like, how does that make any sense? Because that is the premise of CRT. Whether you want to argue it in semantics about it, that's fine. Look at the actual documents. Look at what the Oregon school districts have started putting out. Look what the New York school districts are starting putting out. Look what the South Carolina teacher that was just caught on videotape telling kids as she's teaching stuff about social justice issues to not snitch on what is said in the classroom. Teacher actually says that. I have the video. There'll be a video coming out and an article coming out about that tomorrow. A teacher giving a Zoom meeting to her students literally says, and then the video was actually promoted by Disney and Pizza Hut. So fuck you, Pizza Hut. I'm boycotting you forever. Your pizza sucks anyway. But Disney, I hate you anyway. So what's going on in this country is, it's kind of like what we were talking about last night. See, I'm getting carried away. I just threw out my whole schedule. I'm getting carried away because our country is in such a place where we're just, like, me personally, I'm just like, what the fuck is going on? Like, at some point, someone's just got to be like, oh shit, was this a bad dream? Oh wait, this is going on? No, we can't allow that anymore. We can't allow that anymore. And to be honest, it's not the right that needs to do that. The right way, I mean, in all reality, it's kind of like I said when Biden first took office. I'm like, all right, well, we'll just, try not to laugh for the next 4 years. What's going on is the left, the moderate left, I guess, and maybe some of the progressive left, they need to just like wake up and just be like, hey, this shit is wrong, man. This is wrong. They protested. There was a George Floyd statue. All right, let me move that picture because that's creeping me out. There was that George Floyd statue that was put up, and vandals went and painted it black, which again, it's super wrong to do. It's vandalizing, property whatsoever. They protested outside of it saying they desecrated the statue. Do you not understand what you've been doing for the past year? You attack museums, you attack statues, you attack, abolitionist statues too. You know what my wife said downstairs when I told her that? She said, well, no, those were counter-protesters that were pulling down abolition. Those were people that were against that. And I'm like, the fuck it was. Like, that's not what happened. These idiots were tearing down statues, didn't even know what the statue was. They tore it down anyway. They didn't realize that the statues they pulled down in Washington, D.C., that they were abolitionist statues. People that freed the slaves and worked to free the slaves. They actually pulled down those statues and desecrated them, painted on them. Tried to set them on fire. My wife, who doesn't watch the news, granted, she can't watch the news because it would just make her sick or her head explode or something. That's what it does to me all the time. She thought that was, counter-protesters and patriots that were doing it as opposition to them, pulling down Confederate statues. I'm like, the fuck it was. There wasn't. I don't even think you could find a single example of that happening. I don't think you could. The only time patriots came out, and it seemed like the only city they came out to actually protect statues was Philly. That's it. And then in Chicago, when the police actually protected the statues from getting pulled down. It's crazy. It's crazy. We just live in such a weird town, man. Weird time. Because it just, and I said it yesterday, we all were talking about it yesterday, we're just ranting and raving for hours about just, okay, when is common sense, like, when do you think people are going to just be like, okay, You guys had your fun. Let's actually get back to common sense here. You know, like, how come when the people are reporting the jobs numbers, the mainstream news, how come when they're reporting the job numbers, they can't just be honest with it? You know what I mean? How come they can't be on it? Who the fuck is texting me? Who said that George Floyd didn't matter? Man, I don't care who you are, dude. I'll put your phone number out there with your fake ass officer shit. And never once did I say George Floyd didn't matter, you dumb shit. Never once did I say that. Open your ears. I don't care if you're sitting in a patrol car. When you say stupid shit, I don't even know if you're a cop. The other cops couldn't verify whether it was you or not. But for one, don't text me while I'm doing my show. And secondly, don't put words in my mouth because that gets me pissed off. Someone just texted me and said, how could you say that George Floyd wasn't blah, 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 blah? Come on, dude. Are you kidding me? I said George Floyd's statue was desecrated and painted black, which I said was wrong. That's what I said. Rewind this. You can rewind on YouTube. But I said, you can't protest against that when you literally, the very same people that were protesting the fact that George Floyd's statue was vandalized are the same ones that vandalized hundreds of statues all last year. You can't say there's any difference. That's the problem that we face in America. We could say that January 6th was a riot, right? We could say that was a riot. It's the worst thing ever. But why is everyone apologizing for everything that happened in 2020? Why? If anyone has the answer to that, I swear that's what I want to know. I'm done apologizing for people. I'm done trying to deal with people like that can't use their fucking head. Why is everyone lying? That's what I want to know. That's the one question I need to be answered. Why is the media lying? Mount Laurel, New Jersey, right? So you got one racist idiot that uses racial stuff while talking to their black neighbors, right? Deserves to have his ass kicked, no less. You know, because I hate the racist shit anyway. All right, so he says his name or he says his address in that video. Video goes viral. Thousands of protesters show up in Mount Laurel, New Jersey yesterday, right? The police, and this incident happened Friday, Mount Laurel, and then the protest started yesterday outside this guy's house. So they went to his house, they protest, they smashed out his windows, they smashed out his neighbor's windows, they vandalized everything. When the police finally came in to arrest the guy on the charges, I think, you know, hate speech or whatever, the protesters then attacked them, throwing water bottles. There's video all over social media. The USA Today shit news article, the Oregonian, which why are they writing about stuff that happens in New Jersey? You got enough problems over there, assholes. But these guys all write these stories. Like the USA Today was the most blatant ever because they said the crowd who was loud and peaceful. How is throwing a water bottle at a police officer peaceful? How is breaking an innocent person's windows peaceful? How is spray painting graffiti and curse words on the ground peaceful? It's not. How is jumping on other people's cars, damaging their cars peaceful? For some reason, and there's no accountability. No one calls out the USA Today. I don't even know how many times that video was retweeted. Not much. You know, but and granted, it depends what time you look at Facebook or Twitter. One time I'll have 11,000, one time I'll have 10,500 followers. You know, I've been stuck at 10,000 for years now. I just can't get by anymore because they literally today I went in, it said 11,000.1, so 11.1K, and then with it literally changed right in front of my eyes and went to 10.8. But not enough people care. Not enough people want to call out. Stop texting me, bro. Please stop texting me while I'm doing a show. All right? Please stop texting me while I'm doing a show. You're watching it, so you hear what I'm saying. So respect that and stop texting me while I'm doing a show. I'm pissed off, dude. I'm frustrated. I'm frustrated in general. I'm frustrated with everybody who's out here pretending like it's kind of like what Quincy was saying yesterday. I'm tired of everyone pretending that we're just I don't even know. I'm just tired. I'm tired of people lying. I'm tired of people writing fiction as fact, as news. USA Today, you lied. And the people that were affected by that protest, like, how come that shit can't happen to me? How come I can't just be the innocent next door neighbor when a riot comes and they damage my building so I could sue the stupid news outlets who lie about it? I would have no standing. You can't just sue a news organization for not reporting the truth, right? They've tried to do that. They tried to sue Fox News. People, I'm sure, have tried to sue CNN all the time. It's a freedom of speech. You can say whatever you want. You can, say it's an opinion. Maybe they're saying people throwing water bottles at police officers was peaceful compared to what happened to January 6th. Because we've heard that too. There's a huge email chain or a huge Twitter chain from Vice News. Listen to this. They wrote a huge article on it. And I'm just going to read some of these quotes by these quote unquote journalists, many of whom were war correspondents. Keep that in mind, too. So Vice News put out this big article today at 11:30. It says, reporters who survived the deadly Capitol riot are still struggling. Some won't even go back into the building. Several have sought therapy to deal with the trauma. Many aren't sleeping well. I watched that. Most of my fans and most of the people that watch my show every day, we all watch that. We actually know what happened on January 6th, not the shitty narrative that the left-leaning media or even Fox News or any of those guys, not that narrative that they're putting out. I know what actually happened because we covered it. We had camera crews there. The isolated violence was if you look at it from percentages, if you take all the people that were all the participants of riots or all the participants of the January 6th riot and you break it down to the ones that were committing crimes, guess what? It's a less percentage than the BLM riots that resulted in violence and death. One person was murdered there. 19 people were murdered in BLM riots. Murdered, not even killed. There's more killed. 19 people were murdered in BLM riots. There was I think what they say now, it's like $13 million worth of damage at the Capitol. They stopped counting in June of 2020. That's when they stopped totaling the amount of BLM, the cost of the BLM riots. They stopped at $2 billion. They were like, well, we can't keep going up. That's it. $2 billion. They say, there was 110 police officers killed, right? 110 police officers or injured. In any single riot that took place last year, there was a larger percentage. There was just in Portland alone for 150 consecutive days, there were over 790 officers injured. Some temporarily blinded, this is bad. But nobody pays attention to it. It's like it doesn't matter. The only thing we're doing, and I know what it is, and I just said it to my wife. The goal is not, and I firmly believe this with the whole CRT push. I believe everything. I believe that this is why. I think I finally figured it out. The push, it's not what happened in 2020 with all the absentee ballots, with all the lax laws and regulations because of the COVID pandemic. That made it easier to go and vote. Let's see, I'm being very careful on how I say this stuff. So all the absentee ballots, the increased voting times, all the special legislative rules that were put into place to allow access to the ballot box to be way more open, if you know what I mean. That's not going to happen again. So what can they do? We're not going to be in a pandemic. America's not going to lock down like they did before. It's just not going to happen. So what can they do? One, they can keep doing what they do now. And here's what they do. They label anyone who's a Trump supporter as a white supremacist, and there's no difference between you and the people at the Capitol. And they're working so hard at pushing the narrative that everyone who went to D.C. on January 6th is an insurrectionist and rioter, even if you didn't go into the Capitol. We've already heard that. We already know that. And if you supported the right to go and protest at the Capitol or just in D.C. in general that day, then you are one of those people as well. So they're already doing that. They're vilifying anyone who goes to one of these rallies as that same caliber of person. Now with all the door knocking and all the stuff that they're going to be doing to try to push this vaccination thing, it's in order to just further look at the way they say it. Jen Psaki got up 2 weeks ago and said the majority of people that are not getting vaccinated from southern states are white males from southern states. Not true. The majority of people that are not getting vaccinated happen to be African American. She can't say that because then everyone would turn on her. She can't say that. So stupid. But that's the push. That's a push. Oy, 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 oy. That is the push to, just further divide it. And it's not, the goal isn't to divide America. Keep in mind, last night we're like, what is the goal? Is it just to keep us divided? No, the goal is to divide the Republican Party. The goal is to divide the right. Someone asked yesterday, how can we make our party appealing enough for moderate Democrats who are not as far left as the people that are in office and in our administration? How can we make the GOP or the Republican Party or just the right in general, even independent, how can we make that appealing enough so those moderate Democrats who are disgusted by what their government is doing now, how can we make them switch? Well, the Democrats have an answer for you. You don't want to switch over there because they're all insurrectionists. They're all anti-vaxxers. They're all white supremacists. Even if they're black, doesn't matter. They're still white supremacists. You know what I mean? That's the narrative. It's just to vilify that. And then it's also to fracture the Republican Party as well. It's to say, hey, you don't agree with all that? Oh, you got your vaccination? You should be really pissed off because now you still have all these mask guidelines and all this other stuff in place because of all these people who don't believe in that. All the people who believe in the freedom of choice, except all the people. It's so stupid, right? Because you can't be pro-choice vaccination. It's literally the same people that are arguing about being being against people that are pro-choice vaccination are the ones that are usually outside of these places defending oh my goodness, defending pro-choice decisions. So dumb. We live in such a fractured country, and no matter what, I'll be honest, I don't think it's getting better. I don't think it's going to get any better. I don't think that Republicans are going to take over in 2022. It's my personal opinion. I just don't think it. I don't. If what happened in 2020 is any testament to that, I don't think we have strong enough candidates right now. I really don't. I think we have the whole America First movement, and the left is working so damn hard. They've already turned Republicans against some of these people, and to be honest, some of the people do it just to themselves. I mean, look how hard and here's the thing, because if there's no dirt on anybody, you make it up. That's what they did about Matt Gaetz, right? Just make it up. Just pretend something was there. Just keep it, and then in probably another 2 weeks, they'll drop something else about Matt Gaetz. In another 4 weeks, they'll drop something else against him because he's a front runner too. Eventually, they'll find something. They'll keep digging on DeSantis because they're going to think he's a front runner. Trump can do whatever he wants. There's enough dirt on him for everybody. But think about it. That's what they do. They did it with Marjorie Taylor Greene. They say all the weird shit she said in the past, that's a reflection of her, so they took all of her committees away from her. That's what they do. And every time America First or that party holds one of the events with Matt Gaetz and Green, the left media, the powerhouse that they are, they just push that, the radical agenda. They piece all these clips together and just report falsehoods. That's what they do. So, and I don't mean to say we don't have good candidates in 2022, because we do. We have the guy from Oregon. I forgot who he is, but what is he? Navy SEAL, something like that. Super down to earth guy. He's an America First candidate, and there's a lot of good America First candidates. I just don't know if here's the thing: if we can't unify the Republican Party and just have. And they don't want us to. That's why big tech has taken Donald Trump out. So you can't even talk to the guy. You can't even talk to the guy. You can't, the messages, everyone's like, Right Side Broadcasting had 400,000 people watching. Oh, that's great. That's 400,000 people. How many people? We have 300 million people in the United States. 400,000 people is a piss in a pot. It's nothing. We need more people. When an ex-president, if Obama gets up and plays basketball with the kids, it's on every single news station. If Donald Trump is giving a speech when? Tomorrow? I believe tomorrow at 11 o'clock. How many of you guys knew he's giving a speech at 11 o'clock in Bedminster, New Jersey? How many of you guys knew? The only reason we knew is because we got press credentials to go at like 11 o'clock today. So we can't even go. We can't make the trip. It's almost like they don't want even the Republican, even the American First people that are actually putting everything on. They're like, hey, we don't want press to come in here. We don't want this guy to come show what. And he's talking about the First Amendment. You want to talk about stifling the First Amendment? How about you issue press passes soon enough so we can actually go to these fucking events and cover them for you? You know what I mean? It's like the Trump rallies. We either just don't get the press passes or we just never get a response. And it's not just us; it's other news outlets as well. It's I tell you, it's a designed attack on conservatives. It's not they're not trying to divide our country. I'll be honest, they're not. The left and the Biden administration, they're not trying to divide our country. They are trying to annihilate, you know what I'm saying, destroy it. They're not trying to divide us and just, have us succumb and get down on our knees and do what they say. No, they're trying to just bury it so we don't even have anything, so that their party exceeds everything. That's why Biden said in a speech the other day, they're trying to figure out a faster way to citizenship for all the illegal immigrants that are coming in and granting asylum. It's sad, man. Annihilate. That's a hard word, man. Say that. Maybe when you're heated. I'm a little pissed off right now. You know the thing. Someone said, but why? How will life be better for them? They don't know. Here's the thing. They're blindly following. I don't know. Someone said it the other day in one of the shows. They're like, when has socialism worked? When has it worked? When has it actually helped the country? I don't know. I don't even care enough to learn about it. The whole thing just pisses me off. The fact that they're pushing this radical shit in schools. The fact, now Raytheon, one of the biggest defense contractors, anyone who's watching Tucker Carlson, 20 minutes ago, you're going to see that Raytheon, there's a whole conspiracy just came out of there about white privilege and all this stuff and all this mandatory education that they're giving to employees, telling people that are white that they have to apologize to everybody else. There's all this documents that's out here. Our country is fucking in dire straits. It's in dire straits. And like I don't know. Granted, I'm too small. I don't have the power or position to influence anyone. If I had any clout whatsoever, if I was Donald Trump's hype man or something, I would tell him he needs to be out every day. He needs to be out every day. He needs to be holding events. He needs to hold press conferences. He needs to invite all media out and say he's got a huge message. And then he just comes out and he's like, listen, this is what's really going on. They are trying to divide us. And he does it on all the emails that he sends out 15 times a day. He says kind of it, but then he says, off the wall things too. But he needs to be like, screw all this divisiveness. You don't need to like me. Just look at what's happening to your country. Can you imagine if a guy like that said it? If he said, listen, put all the stupid shit I've done, put all the stupid shit you think I've done, put that all aside, take a hard look at what's going on in your country, whether you like me or not, whether you want to vote for me or not, let's find someone that you will vote for and we're unanimous in decision, or where we have a unanimous decision on putting that person in office. We need to do that. That's what Donald Trump should do, because whether or not people like it, that guy is a Republican. He is the front runner. He can announce today that he would do it, and we could hold an election tomorrow and he'd still probably get 70 million votes. So he needs to really unite the country, and he can't do it at a rally. I think the better way would be to hold a surprise press conference. Do it right after, the New York Attorney General says that she's indicting the CEO of the Trump organization. Trump should have said, I'm holding an emergency press briefing. I have an emergent message that I got to get out. Because you know what? They're all going to show up. They may not show up, but enough people would. If Donald Trump gave a speech like I just said and said, we just need to ignore what's going on. It's not even ignore. And that's the biggest thing. And that was probably my fault, is in the beginning, I said, I'll just sit back and just kind of laugh to myself about what's going to happen over the next 4 years. And then we'll take back in 4 years. Fast forward 5 months now, I'm like, holy shit. We fucked up in the past 4 or 5 months. We should have been going at this hard. Trump shouldn't have waited to rallies for the past 2 months. He should have immediately been out doing rallies. Everyone should be doing rallies. Everyone should be doing flag waves. But you can't even do a flag wave now, because you know what they do to the American flag? That's a terrorist organization. That means that you're a white supremacist now, according to some. They see that, and that's what they say they see. And isn't it ironic that the people that say that that is a racist flag, the majority of the people that say that is a racist flag happen to be white people? How come the black people that are out there aren't saying that that's a racist flag? Oh, because it's not. How come the black people that are out there and minorities aren't pushing for a critical race theory? Oh, well, maybe it's not as big as an issue to them. Maybe they have jobs, maybe they have careers, maybe they have families. They don't want to get involved in some politicized bullshit. Someone said Trump is licking his ego wounds. He will come back when he's over the loss to Creepy Joe. Again, there wasn't a loss to anybody. The only people that lost in our election cycle in 2020 was you and me. You and me, whether you're Republican, Democrat, whatever, we lost. If you voted for Joe Biden, you lost. If you voted for Trump, we lost, because nothing happened. The only people, because we can't sit back and say, I told you so anymore. Because just look at the devastation now. The Canadian government, the company that is behind the Keystone Pipeline, is now suing the government for $15 billion for the money they lost. We have the highest border crisis numbers that we've ever had, really, in 50 plus years. 180,000 people cry. And on Thursdays, Joe Biden gets up and he talks, our jobs numbers for June came in. We added 870,000 jobs. Fuck, you did. Those jobs were given back. We still have 5 million people unemployed. We still have, nobody talks about that. You don't see CNN saying, we have one of the highest unemployment rates that we've had in a long time. They don't say that. What they say is we've added more jobs. Why? Because it's misleading. If you pay attention to the actual numbers, you will understand that our government isn't open. It's like we talked about yesterday as well. When our economy starts rebounding and all these businesses start doing good and it's no longer a job seekers market, all these guys are going to be unemployed again. Because either businesses are going to find out it's not sustainable to pay all these bonuses to get lazy assholes to go to work, so they're going to have to fire them, or businesses are going to close, or all these new citizens, all these new people that are able to work now in the United States are going to come in and they're going to take those jobs, and then we're going to have skilled workers that are unemployed because people are taking those jobs for lower amounts. And then the Biden administration, our current administration, is going to be the ones that are responsible for that, because they are pushing to have this happen. Now, what do they say? Well, we want to protect those employees. They don't want to protect the employers. They want to protect the employees. So these newfound wages and all these premium wages that everybody's getting now to work, they want to unionize the country. They want to unionize the country and give everyone the collective bargaining agreement so you can't be fired. So you can't be laid off. That's the push. The Democrat senator just said it the other day. He said, because we have to. Otherwise, all these people are going to lose their job in 3 or 4 months. You think that all these great financiers and all these great advisors, economic advisors and economic, forecasters, you think they don't see this? You think they don't understand what's actually happening in this country? You don't think they understand that this bubble is going to burst? This employment bubble, this housing bubble, everything that's going on, it's going to burst. But whatever. Biden is president, right? We're getting out of Iraq now. Greener pastures. Greener pastures. Someone said there's a labor shortage right now. Yeah. To be honest, the only reason we have a labor shortage is because we have a government subsidy, unemployment. And then when cities like Maryland, it's on the news every single day. Maryland was trying to veto, or the Maryland government, the governor signed away the $300 federal subsidy for unemployment because he needs people to go to work. The economy is suffering. Whether or not you think that it's good because President Biden says 872,000 people got their jobs back. He doesn't say that. He said jobs created. He doesn't say got their jobs back, even though that's what really happened. He doesn't say that. So let's get that clear. I don't want to put that in his mouth, because it's worse, because they got their jobs back. No jobs have been created. No jobs have been created. There's no new companies coming up. Everyone's belt is tightening. Someone said labor shortage, fake news. Every business in my area is held wanted side. That's what a labor shortage is, by the way. A labor shortage is when you can't get enough people. You don't have the labor for those jobs. That's what a labor shortage is. So labor shortage is not fake news. But the reason is because no one wants to go to work. They're all getting subsidies, or because they've been complacent over the past year and they decided, oh, I'll just take a $5 an hour pay cut and I'll work on some data entry position from home. The one good thing, maybe some of those jobs will come back from overseas. But, there's a whole logistics teams and logistics call centers that are all in Colombia and Ukraine and all that stuff because it's cheaper. Just cheaper. But it's just going to keep going, man. It's just going to keep going. Until when? Until that bubble bursts and then people stop spending. That's about where we're going to be pretty soon as a household, not as a company. Obviously, we got to keep spending and spending and spending and spending all the time. But, as me personally, I'm not going to do shit. I'm not going to buy a house. Yeah, now we can go buy a house if we wanted. It's not going to. Market's shit. I saw a nice house today, $290,000. Nice house nearby. Had a big 4-car garage and all that for me to work on all the toys and do all that stuff. Big den. Perfect. It would have been perfect. I would have had a whole quadrant for everything. Then I started looking up how much a house is actually worth, and I realized that they're putting a $50,000 buffer on the house and the property itself. The house was old, it needed work, but to sell it for $290 wasn't even on 3 acres. It didn't even have the same land as this. We're not going to buy any house in this market. We just assume rent. We have a nice place up here. It's crazy, man. It's crazy. We live in a weird time. And you know what? I don't know what we're going to do, man. Someone said 290, that's nothing. Interest rates are low. Wow. Yeah, well, houses here are cheap. They're cheap. I mean, it was a nice house. There's a better house that I want. It's $590. It's on 22 acres. But, man, it's sad. What's going on in this country is sad, and I think we can... fuck if I know, dude. I really don't even know. I really don't. There's so much negative news. Like today, they released all this other, to celebrate the 6-month anniversary of January 6th. They released all this, additional footage. The FBI did today of people that they're wanted for it. Many who they already know their names and all that. They're still arresting people. How many people were killed? There was over 100 shootings in Chicago this weekend. Over 100, right? San Francisco, California this weekend. They ran in and they, Neiman Marcus or something like that. They ransacked the store, looted it in broad daylight. Cops couldn't respond. Why? Because their murder rate's up 100% from last month. True story. Chicago's mayor, Lori Lightfoot, comes up and says there were no race riots last year. There were no riots. Every single riot that took place last year was a race riot. They were about race. You can't say it wasn't a race riot. And Lori Lightfoot literally said there were no race riots last year. She tried to even say there were no riots. They were mostly peaceful. Tell that to the hundreds of cops in that park in Chicago that were just getting beaten on the head with bricks. Remember, we showed that. That was one of the days where I really lost my shit. Broad daylight. Groups of protesters attacking him over a Christopher Columbus statue, I think. It's just crazy. Again, I would like to ask anybody, what is different from January 6th versus a crowd attacking a courthouse in Portland, Oregon? If you don't have the answer, you could say, well, one was doing our electorate. Okay. Take away the electorate part. What's the difference? Like that charging document that I read, the FBI said in all his experience, he could tell that the things that were being said by the crowd led him to believe that they were solely there to stop the electorate. In all your experience, when has that ever happened before? Did you also work the Kavanaugh riot? I should call it that. It should be what it's called. The Kavanaugh protest, did you cover those? Were they trying to stop a confirmation of a Supreme Court justice? Yeah. Are any of them in jail? No. What about the January 7th riots in D.C., 2017, right after President Trump was inaugurated? What about those riots? Everyone was released without charges. What about all the New York City riots from this year? Didn't New York City just release 500 plus people without charges? Portland, Oregon, released. Denver, released. Chicago, released. Minneapolis, released. Tampa, released. The only people that aren't getting released are conservatives. Seriously. And that's not, I'm not just saying that because I'm a conservative. Look, that's fact. The only people that are being held indefinitely without even trials set are conservatives for lesser crimes too. You have lawyers. Yeah. I mean, Rudy Giuliani is suspended from the New York bar for everything with Dominion voter systems and all that stuff, right? 2 New York City lawyers threw a Molotov cocktail at a police car during a riot. They didn't lose their licenses. We live in such a weird, it should be concerning. It should be, I can't even think of the right word to describe like what I'm saying. Like, everyone needs to wake up. That's what the show is about. The show is called Wake Up America. It's never been more, the whole reason why I started this podcast itself over a year ago, this is our year anniversary right around this time, actually, for the actual podcast. But the reason why we started doing this is because we were watching the protests that took place on TV, and we're like, that were going on social media, but they weren't being reported. I was talking to the people in Portland that are smelling the tear gas every night, and they're wondering why major news isn't reporting what's going on. And then once I started looking into it, I started seeing that it's more. Truck drivers are getting pulled out of their trucks and beaten up in Minneapolis, while people are threatening to throw them off of the overpass. You didn't hear that from anyone else. You didn't know that was happening. Yeah, a couple of trucking news outlets, not even the biggest one, they didn't report that fact. They didn't report the fact that as the crowd was beating up that driver and stealing and looting his truck and stealing his wallet and his cell phone, that there were people threatening to throw him off of the overpass, and that's why when he was dragged out of his truck, he was pulled over. That happened in Minneapolis, broad daylight. That driver, keep in mind, not a single protester that pulled a rioter, idiot, asshole, whatever you call it, criminal that pulled him out of the truck. Not a single one of those. Not a single one of those people were charged. How the fuck is this? I don't know who this is. Just keep in mind, guys, if you're messing with me and you try to post my address and all that stuff out, man, I'm gonna come at you like a spider monkey. Isn't that from a movie? But I really am, because I have 2 kids and a wife. So, and I've noticed that it's increasing more since I've moved here, which is one of the reasons. Because in a year of doing this, I've only had 2 people show up to my house. It's starting to get on my nerves, and I'm not going away. Not going away. So all these stupid messages asking, people posting my address online, all that shit. I'm not going away. But it is frustrating. You don't want to get me to that point where I have to make that decision. I'll be honest. It's not even a decision I have to make. Anyway, oh yeah, it's increasing way more. Every day. I have 2 pit bulls. Plus I got more guns. I've got cameras all over the place. You step on my property, you won't even make it to the hill. 1, because I'll be in the woods behind you before you even get up. And secondly, the cops will be here quicker because they already know what I do for a living. And guess what? They support it too. Fucking stupid, bro. Stupid. But yeah, that's a good thing, because I know that people, if I'm pissing people off and I'm getting demonetized on Facebook and I'm doing all this stuff is happening, I know I'm doing it right. I know I'm on the right track. I know what I'm saying is true. Tonight may have been a little extreme, but I'm frustrated. I don't know what to do. I would love, the almighty people, person up above to be like, okay, Steve, this is what needs to go on. But I'm talking with my wife, thinking about, what I said earlier about the knocking on the, I'll be honest, not that whole, Jen Psaki first saying they're going to be going door to door about vaccinations, and then Joe Biden firming that up in a speech after, scared the shit out of me. Because I know, one, there's a lot of people that are nutbags. And if you send people, I remember when we had the Democratic pollsters that came because my wife apparently didn't sign her absentee ballot. So they came there and they came to our house. And I said, well, this is wrong. This is wrong. And I said, get off my property. And then they came back again. And they came back again. They came back again. And I'm like, that was about an absentee ballot. Now it's about something that they're pushing all the time. They're pushing. We just got something from the school district saying, not the school district here, but the school district down south that said, hey, guess what? Now you can bring your kids as young as 12 in to get vaccinated. I would like to remind everyone, a 13-year-old who just got his second shot 2 days ago died suddenly. No pre-existing conditions. He died a day after getting his second shot. Not just for YouTube's, and everybody. I'm not saying that he died because of his shot. Nobody knows. They just know something happened with his heart, and it just happened to be a day after getting his second shot. Why the fuck would you give a kid the vaccination? Why? That's the only thing I have to say. Why? But that's what they're doing. And I'm not giving up. Ever. We're launching this app. I demoed it last night, right? For all of you guys. So tomorrow I'm going to put the finishing touches, either tonight or tomorrow morning. And then we'll submit it to the app stores. And then you guys will have that as a means to be able to get some news out and report some stuff. And then, yeah. And then we'll just keep doing it. And we're going to keep reporting the news, whether people like it or not. You know why? Because that's what matters. That is what matters the most to me. We have that responsibility because you're not being told the truth by anybody. I'll be honest, I told Adam today, I watched Newsmax this morning, and that was one of the first things, first times I was like, holy shit, that news was kind of similar to like my way of thinking. The way they were reporting on it. They were reporting on what happened at the Neiman Marcus store. They were reporting on what happened in Mount Laurel, New Jersey. They were reporting on these things that people need to see. They need to know. Everybody needs to know. That's why I'd say tomorrow you're going to start seeing, if you haven't already, on my Facebook page, I have the Citizen Stringer Facebook page too. April, will you put that in all the chats? Actually, I'll do it real quick. Maybe, if I could figure out how to do it real quick. Because tomorrow, at some point tonight, I'm going to switch the domain over, and then all the videos and all that stuff are going to broadcast from Citizen Stringer. They'll still be here as well, but all the articles are going to be shared to the Citizen Stringer page and then cross-shared over here to this Facebook page. And the reason why we're doing that is, one, we've been demonetized, and two, they won't let me change the name. They don't, we're not getting the distribution we need to or anything right now. It's deliberate because now people are getting notifications. All the people that are registered on the Citizen Stringer page, which is just facebook.com/Citizen Stringer, and I'm also putting it in the chat here. They're all getting notifications when I go live. And also with our app, you'll never need that because we send notifications out before we go live. So so that's the beauty of the app, and then I'll stop talking about it. Because even if you prefer to watch on YouTube or Twitch or DLive or anything, you'll always, if you have the app, even the free version, because the only thing that you'll have to pay on here is for the live feeds. And then you could just wait an hour and then it will be on demand for free. That's the way we have it set up. And the reason is because of big tech, and we need to be able to support ourselves as well. But everything else is going to be free. So you'll be able to do the stories for free and the citizen stories where you interact with the live shows and do all sorts of stuff. There's so much in the app, man. But you can just get your notifications there. So you could be like, oh, I just got a notification. Steve's live in 10 minutes. Let me go log into YouTube, because YouTube has censored him so they don't send out the notifications. Or I watch on Facebook. Facebook censors his notifications as well. So let's go watch over on Facebook, because now I have this app that tells me all the nifty notifications. So, yeah, man. Yeah, man. That's, we got some stuff to try to deal with. I'm going to try to log in right now to Restream and cut off all the social media feeds. Again, the only reason is because, yeah, it's not going to let me. I knew it wasn't going to let me. I had that feeling. I had that feeling it wasn't going to let me do it. Which is bullshit because it doesn't let me cut this off. So I can't live stream only to whatever. So what I was, just go watch it. Oh wait, yeah, now it's doing it. Maybe I could turn it off. So what I'm gonna do now for everyone that's on, for everyone that's watching on social media, I'm gonna end the show. I appreciate everyone for being there. All the YouTubers that sent the super chats, man, I super appreciate that. You know, this app is costing a lot. Time is costing a lot. Revenue's kind of gone down a little bit. So I do appreciate it. That's what allows us to keep doing this. So, you know, just remember, if you're, you know, don't just support my shows, support Adam and Quincy and Scott the best that you can as well. And then also turn your ad blockers off when you're on our page. As I said, on our PT News Network, which tomorrow will be citizenstringer.com, we have ads on those pages. We'll never block. We'll never do ad blocks where you got to pay to access an article ever. I'll never do that. But there are ads on there. So, you know, just if you have an ad blocker, just turn it off when you're on there because it helps us. We get paid for the ads that are on there too. But yeah, everyone that's on YouTube, Facebook, Periscope, Twitch, DLive, I'll see you guys all tomorrow at 7 o'clock. Everyone that's watching through the Caster app or watching through PTNN, I'm going to play that COVID video that I was talking about. And anyone on social media who wants it, just go to my Twitter page, which is what is it? PT News Network, at PT News Network, and you will be able to see it. Yeah, but this video is a damning thing. So let me turn all these off, and I appreciate all you guys for watching. But unfortunately, I will get kicked off of social media if I play it there. So we'll see you later. Let me see if that actually even worked. No, see, it's not going to let me do it. So what I'm going to do, because it won't even let me end social medias. Man, it's always something. I know what I got to do. I got to run 2 consecutive feeds out, but I didn't do it today. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to put that video on PTNN for free for everybody. So if you go to ptnn.tv, you will see it. It'll be under free video. Give me like 20 minutes. So if you go to ptnn.tv, it'll be free for everybody there. You got to give me about 20 minutes. I'll upload it. You don't need an account to be able to watch it. Just go over there in about 20 minutes, ptnn.tv. 20 minutes, you'll be able to see the video. I forgot what it's called. I think it's called, I'll probably just title it like COVID video you must watch or something. All right, guys, we'll see ya when I press the right button, which I'll do someday, maybe. Appreciate all you guys for being here. Also, this video is a podcast. Go on your favorite podcast player of choice and download the Wake Up America podcast. That is one of the ways, too, we can make money because the more people download the podcast. We just hit 10,000 podcast downloads this week, which is crazy because that's all of our old podcasts plus this week's podcast. In 1 week, 10,000 people downloaded the podcast. Pretty insane considering it's just me sitting here shooting the shit. Anyway, appreciate all you guys for watching. We'll see you later.